portal and find. Before we launch into how you can use the portal and find the help you need, I'd like to briefly recognize and thank our campus leadership in research administration. And then Vice Chancellor for Research, Randy Katz, will briefly welcome you.
Thank you, Eric. And it's great to see so many faces on this Zoom Hollywood Squares. I really appreciate the time that you're spending to learn about the services the campus provides in support of research, which spans both the Vice Chancellor for Research Office, but also the Vice Chancellor for Administration in terms of the Berkeley Regional Services, Research Administration, HR, and Purchasing. I started my teaching career, my professorial career in 1981, 40 years ago, and joined the Berkeley faculty 38 years ago. And I have to admit, for most of those years, I had no idea what the village was that was supporting my research activity. I knew who my research administrator was, and I benefited from a very long-term relationship with Damon Hinson in the URSO region. But I really had no idea what Sponsored Projects Office is. What does the Office of Technology Licensing do? What is this Industrial Alliances Office, let alone the compliance committees and everything else that is really part and parcel of what a modern research university has to provide in order to provide good stewardship of what, as of last year, was $1 billion research enterprise at the University of California at Berkeley. So I don't expect you all to sort of have any sense of, more than half of the people on, I think it's way more, maybe 60% of the people who are on the Zoom are actually part of the set of offices that support you. It's complex, it's necessary. We all want to provide you with the best possible service because at the end of the day, it's about faculty success. We want you to be successful in your careers. We want you to be successful researchers. We want to do everything we can to assist you in obtaining support for your research, in executing on that research. There's an enormous number of processes and rules and regulations and so on that one has to follow in order to secure funding and spend the money and get the research actually done. And the offices necessary to support you in that endeavor are represented in today's sort of Zoom meeting and will be visible to you through the portal. And hopefully it won't take you, 32 years or 34 years to figure out really what the size and scale of the research support enterprise actually is in order for you to be successful in what you're doing. I would like to really also shout out to Kathy Yellick, who is here and will be my successor effective January 1st. She's been my colleague for many years, many decades in electrical engineering and computer science. She has a very extensive administrative experience with the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab and their high performance computing portion of what the lab does up there. And I can't imagine a better prepared individual on the campus ready to take over the responsibility for a very large part of our research support services. I don't know if Kathy, you have a word or two you would like to say.
Sure. Well, thanks very much, Randy, and thank you for your leadership as Vice Chancellor for Research. And it's been great, both working with you as a colleague, but being able to inherit this wonderful organization from you. So I'm really excited to be taking over as Vice Chancellor for Research starting, as Randy said, in January 1st. And I'm really interested in helping to provide all of the services that you need to do research. As Randy said, I think it's not clear maybe until you start trying to commercialize something, or you start trying to figure out how to subcontract, or you start trying to figure out how to buy some major new instrumentation, sort of what kind of support you're going to need in order to perform your research. So I think hopefully you'll learn a lot more today about that. I'm also really excited about just helping people make connections across campus. I think a real strength of Berkeley has been the support for and value of interdisciplinary research across campus. And I think there's such important social problems that we're facing that I think it's really important that Berkeley step up to, both as researchers, because we want to work on these very hard problems, but I think also as to serve the nation and the world, to help address things like climate change, human health, and equity issues, and using things like our data and computing, my own discipline, and applied that to all of these different really hard problems, as well as innovation and entrepreneurship, and help all of you figure out, if you're interested in such things, how to go about doing that. So you can see these in the multidisciplinary themes of the campus if you're not familiar with them, but certainly my own interests are very much aligned with those broad themes. And as I said, I think probably overarching theme is helping people make connections in order to really solve harder problems than you can solve just by working with people in your own discipline. So, but thanks very much, Randy.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Thank you for stepping forward and taking on the job of Vice Chancellor for Research. I really, if I could just say a couple of words, really, what motivates someone to take on these senior administrative positions? A lot of it is about service to our community, because somebody did these jobs when we were young faculty and provided an environment which allowed us to thrive in terms of our research careers. And at some point, as you move up from maybe being a department chair, a senior faculty member, then a department chair, or an institute director, an associate director of something like laboratory, LB&L, you're really about facilitating the work of others and are committed to creating an environment where they can excel. And maybe the pinnacle of that for the research enterprise is to be the Vice Chancellor for Research at the world's #1 public research university, the University of California at Berkeley. So the folks here today are going to help you get the big picture of who does what at UC Berkeley, from pre-award and proposal development through all the stages of the grant lifecycle. And I'm really excited myself to learn more about this new grant lifecycle portal to make it easier to absorb the complexity and the breadth and depth of the support for that activity. And with that, I'd like to turn the floor back to Eric.
Great, thank you, Randy, and welcome, Kathy. Before we just go to the first presentation, let me just introduce others of our campus leadership and research administration. Carol Mimura is the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Intellectual Property and Industry Research Alliances. Carol oversees the Office of Technology Licensing and the Industry Alliances Office. You'll also meet today some staff in Carol's unit, including me. Kyrie Williams, Assistant Vice Chancellor for Research and Compliance, also known as RAC. He oversees the Sponsored Projects Office and many of the Research Compliances offices. You'll meet in today's event some staff in Kyrie's unit as well. And Linda Rug is the Associate Vice Chancellor for Research and a Professor of Swedish Literature in the Scandinavian Department. We thank all of you for leadership, and we're so proud to serve. So can we have Erica up? Erica is our next presenter, our first presenter. Erica is the Associate Director for Strategy and Training in the Berkeley Research Development Office, or BERDO. And Erica is here to tell us today about the portal, as well as the services provided by the offices participating in today's breakout rooms. Erica.
Hi, welcome. I'm Erica Whitney from the Berkeley Research Development Office. A number of administrative offices in the room today have been working together over the past year to create a new grant lifecycle website to introduce and explain how the research funding process works at Berkeley. This figure here is a snapshot of what the website looks like, with accordion menus under each step with guidance and resources for each topic. I want to briefly introduce you to this lifecycle process today. Now, after my presentation, we will be having 3 sequential breakout room sessions where you can meet with representatives of the people at Berkeley who can help you with each of these steps. They will be able to answer your questions during the breakout session, so I ask that you please hold your questions until then. The grant lifecycle website takes you through the pre-award stage, the award stage, and the post-award stage, and we're going to structure our discussion today around these as well. The first step in the grant lifecycle is to define what research question you want to investigate, service project you want to engage in, curriculum you want to develop, or creative project you want to undertake. This topic could be an entire workshop series in and of itself, so we will only cover it in the briefest of ways today. So to define your project, the first step is to choose a question. Your project should be something that interests you and that you are well positioned to investigate. Consider its significance. Why would others care? Its potential impact. How will it move the field forward? And its innovation. How will it change the status quo? Then you need to define your needs and assess your resources. So thinking about the resources that you need to perform your work can help you home in on the appropriate scope of the project for a particular funding opportunity and identify which facilities you can access and whether you should engage in any collaborations with other researchers or partners. Next, it's time to put together the question you want to ask with the resources you will access to conceptualize the steps of your project and brainstorm your project plan. And finally, you may need to build a team to work on your project because sometimes work is best done via a team approach when people with complementary skills attack a problem together. So who do you need to help you? My colleagues at the Berkeley Research Development Office and at Foundation Relations and Corporate Philanthropy can help you at this stage in the life cycle by helping you strategize your projects. We both have resources on our websites to help you with this stage, and you can also look at the Grant Lifecycle website to point you to these resources. Once you have some ideas of possible projects in mind, the next step is to match your ideas to possible funding sources. Different types of funding serve different purposes, and it's important to match your needs to an appropriate funding mechanism. Some are targeted to a specific purpose, some have specific reporting requirements, and some may provide latitude for the work performed. To understand the difference between these, look at the Grant Lifecycle website. And these types of funding can come from many sources, from the federal government, from states and other sources of governmental funding, from industry, from corporate foundations, or from nonprofit organizations. And they all have different needs and wants for what they want to be funding. Unfortunately, there's no single resource to find a funding source, and it can take a lot of work sometimes. So how do you find funding opportunities? Well, you're probably going to need to use a combination of resources. So you can check the BRDO and the SPO funding pages periodically for funding opportunities, but do note that these lists are not comprehensive. They're just ones that we find to be of most interest to our faculty. UC Berkeley subscribes to a funding database called Pivot that you can register for and use to search for and track funding opportunities, and this can really be a helpful source for you. You can monitor agency and industry web pages for new announcements and upcoming deadlines. So remember that all federal opportunities are posted on grants.gov, but sometimes it can be easier to look at the funding agency's own website to find out information. Ask your colleagues about their research portfolios and their experiences working with different agencies. They may have really good advice for you on which agencies and funding opportunities are a good fit. And you can browse funding opportunity announcements on various websites or sign up for funding opportunity announcements via email. So for example, the Intellectual Property and Industry Research Alliance's office has a newsletter you can sign up for to find out about opportunities from their office and in their field. Sometimes a funder limits the number of applications an organization may submit, requiring an internal selection process to determine which person or proposal team can move forward. These are called limited submissions. At UC Berkeley, this internal selection process is run by the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research and staffed jointly with BRDO. The selection process is by and large based upon peer review. You will receive notifications for limited submissions based on your eligibility and your departmental affiliation, but you can also check out the current list of opportunities on the limited submission website. And this is particularly relevant for new junior faculty, as many of the early career awards are limited submissions. So IAO, BRDO and Foundation Relations can also provide you guidance on who can fund your work and what mechanism would be appropriate. Now we're on to developing your proposal. There are two main parts to developing your proposal: the creative or the technical part, which involves the drafting and refining of your project plan, and the administrative or non-technical part, which involves the budget and the forms. So there are a number of steps to go through as you develop your proposal. And some of these have to do with the conceptual development and writing of the proposal, and some of these have to do with the administrative components, both those required by the university and those required by the funding agency. So you can familiarize yourself with the overall proposal preparation process and get guidance on writing a successful proposal from the BRDO website. An important step in developing your proposal is working with your Berkeley Regional Services Research Administrator, or RA. Berkeley Regional Services provides research administration support in proposal development and award accounting administration. They also provide support for HR and for purchasing and reimbursement, but what concerns us today is their research administration services. So each faculty member is assigned a BRS research administrator based on service regions grouped by schools, colleges, and departments. Your RA provides administrative and management support for your research proposals and for grants, awards, and contracts throughout the various steps in the life cycle. There's a search engine on the BRS website to find your region, and you can use a tool on the BRS website to find the person assigned to you, or you can also use Phoebe to find this person. It's important to find out who your RA is and connect with them early, because they are going to be the key contact to help you with the budget and administrative components of your proposal. Your RA will help you enter the proposal into the campus Phoebe system for approval by the Sponsored Projects Office or the Industry Alliances Office, and will also help you enter your proposal into the sponsor's proposal submission system like FastLane for NSF or Inspires for NASA. There will be different requirements for what to include in each proposal depending upon the guidelines in the specific solicitation. The format of solicitations and requests for proposals varies by funding sponsor, so you should follow the technical and formatting instructions carefully. Otherwise, your proposal might get returned without review. And sometimes there are two sets of instructions to follow. The general proposal instructions of the funding agency, for example, NSF or NIH has this, as well as the specific instructions in a program solicitation. You have to put these two things together to come up with a compliant proposal. In addition, the university also has its own rules about conducting extramurally funded research that you need to follow. So here's a list in broad terms of the information you'll submit to SPO or IAO, and your RA will help you with this step in the process. There are many people on campus who can help you navigate the various steps in this process. Key to this is, of course, your RA, who provides you administrative and management support for your proposals, and then for any grants, awards, and contracts that you are awarded throughout all the various steps required. The Berkeley Research Development Office provides principal investigators and their teams with strategic, organizational, and editorial assistance on the content and presentation of their proposals. Likewise, Foundation Relations can help you align your proposal with the foundation's goals, and IAO can help you match your proposal to a company's interests. The Research Data Portal is a service on campus that exists to be a centralized location for navigating campus data-related services. So once you've developed your proposal, it's time to submit. There are two steps to submit your proposal. The first is to submit the proposal to the appropriate office, either SPO or IAO, for review and sign off by the authorized official in that office. The second is to make sure that the proposal is submitted on time to meet the sponsor's proposal deadline. So first things first, UC Berkeley policy requires all proposals related to research, instruction, and public service to be submitted to the sponsor through the Sponsored Projects Office, or SPO, or the Industry Alliances Office, or IAO. This requirement is necessary to ensure that all extramurally funded projects are screened for their compliance with relevant university, state, and federal policies and guidelines, and to ensure fiscal responsibility for all extramural awards. So failure to submit a proposal through the appropriate office is considered a campus policy violation. If you're interested in funding from federal, state, or local government agency or a nonprofit sponsor, you need to work with SPO. If you're interested in funding from industry sponsors, your proposal must be submitted through IAO. And your proposal will be submitted via Phoebe, which is UC Berkeley's online research administration application. To submit a proposal to SPO or IAO, your RA will upload your proposal in Phoebe Proposal, which is the campus proposal routing and approval system. And PIs may check Phoebe Search to see the current status of all their proposals and awards. So after the RA helps the PI prepare a proposal, the RA routes the proposal to SPO or IAO via Phoebe. PIs and co-PIs, as well as deans, chairs, and directors, must answer questions about the proposal and approve the proposal in Phoebe before it moves on to SPO or IAO. SPO or IAO must receive a complete draft of the proposal no later than 4 working days before the proposal deadline. When SPO or IAO receives the complete draft, the Contract and Grant Officer or CGO assigned to the PI's department or unit reviews the proposal for institutional risks. The CGO will provide the PI and the RA with feedback on risks identified in the proposal, and the PI must make the corrections needed and submit the final version of the proposal to SPO or IAO no later than 8 business hours before the proposal deadline. When submitting the proposal to SPO or IAO by this 4-day deadline, the technical sections can be in draft form, but there must be enough information in these technical sections for the CGO to evaluate what is being proposed and to determine if the technical and the administrative sections correspond. The final version of the proposal submitted must have a complete and final version of both the technical and the administrative sections. So the CGO will then submit the proposal to the funding agency or give the PI and the RA approval to submit the proposal themselves if this is appropriate for that particular opportunity. Submitting a proposal to a government, industry, or nonprofit sponsor without going through SPO or IAO or getting their approval is considered a university policy violation. So SPO and IAO's contracts and grants analysts are considered the authorized organizational representatives, or AORs, and have been delegated authority on campus to submit proposals and accept awards. So here's the timeline for submitting your proposal. This is available on SPO's website, so you should give it a more detailed read. But the important thing to note is that there are multiple internal deadlines that you must meet to submit a proposal. The agency's deadline is not the only one to consider. The timeline within each region from BRS may vary, and you should reach out to your RA for more information on what their deadlines are and what their requirements are. And special permission is required from VCRO for late proposals, and PIs are allowed only 3 late proposals per fiscal year. So please keep that in mind when figuring out your schedule for submitting a proposal. Hopefully, the next step in the process is for you to receive an award. Not all awards are alike, and some require extensive negotiation, while others have fewer issues to resolve and are fairly straightforward. The amount of time it takes to negotiate an award will depend on the complexity of the terms and conditions, as well as how responsive the sponsor is to our offices. Visit the SPO Awards Setup page for more information about award negotiation and setup. When the proposal results in an award, the sponsor will typically notify SPO or IAO, and they will then negotiate the terms of the award when necessary and make sure all compliance requirements for human and animal research and conflict of interest are addressed before setting up and transferring the award information to Contracts and Grants Accounting, or CGA. If your award is funded by federal, state, other government, or nonprofit sponsors, including non-US government and nonprofit sponsors, the Sponsored Projects Office will negotiate and set up your award. If your award is funded by for-profit companies, including non-US industry sponsors, or as a small business innovation or small business technology transfer subcontract, the Industry Alliances Office will negotiate and set up your award. Once your award is negotiated and signed by the authorized official in SPO or IAO, the award information will be fed via the Berkeley financial system to the Contract and Grant Accounting Office, or CGA. The project fund will then be live, and the funds can be spent according to the project budget uploaded into the financial system by your RA. So the RA will support you in managing project funds. However, it's the PI's responsibility to make sure the funds are spent according to the sponsor's guidelines. CGA's role is to invoice the sponsor for the awarded funds and provide the financial reports to the sponsor as required in the terms and conditions of the award. You can visit the CGA award setup page for more information about their process and services. In addition to setting up the funds for your award, sometimes you have other items that need to be managed before you can begin your work. For example, you might need materials, software or data, or a non-disclosure agreement for your research project, or you might need help managing data or keeping it secure. Look to the Grant Lifecycle website for more information about these resources and to see who can help you with these. So congratulations, now it's time to actually do your project. Now, SPO and IAO are not involved in how project funding is spent. However, PIs will need to contact either of these offices if they wish to get a fund advance so they can start work on the project before the award's finalized, use project funds to establish an outgoing subaward to an external partner, obtain any required prior approvals from the sponsor, or request a no-cost extension if funds remain at the end of the project and there is still project activities that need to be completed. So to manage your award finances, you're going to be working with your RA and with CGA. Your RA provides the day-to-day fund management support for your grant and contracts, and CGA provides overall support for your contracts and grants, such as invoicing, financial reporting, and closeout. So there are other aspects to managing your project that you may need help with along the way. You may have subawards or subcontracts on your project, or you may want to amend the award to change its direction, or because the agency wants to supplement your funding, which is exactly what we all wish, right? In such cases, you should work with the office that processed the original award, and you can find out more about these situations on the Grant Lifecycle website. If you need to make agreements to proceed with your research, IAO can help you review and execute confidential disclosure agreements or non-disclosure agreements. If you need to obtain research materials or data, IAO will help you with that as well. Whereas if you need to send out or share research materials or data, the Office of Technology Licensing will help you. Again, look to the Grant Lifecycle website for help finding the resources you need. If you need to find information about your grant, there are two electronic systems to use. You can use Phoebe Search to look up non-financial information about your contracts, grants, and other agreements, including things about material transfer agreements, data use agreements, and software agreements, non-disclosure agreements. Those are all in Phoebe Search. In Phoebe Search, you'll also find the most up-to-date information about your award, such as the amount funded, the start and end dates, and agreement and amendment documents, which you can view and download from within Phoebe. Use a system called PI Portfolio to look up financial information about your contracts and grants, including fund balances, expenses, and budgets. So the last step in the grant lifecycle process is to share the results of your research. And there are a lot of different avenues by which you can share your research, and there are a lot of different resources on campus that can help you with this stage of the research process. So you may be interested in publishing your research, sharing your data or software that you've developed, retaining your records for secondary analyses by other people or for future uses, sharing materials that you've developed, disclosing inventions or software that you've developed, or maybe even starting a company. So who can help you? For publishing your research, there are resources within the library that can help. For sharing your data or software, the Office of Technology Licensing can help you, or OTL. Likewise, OTL can help you share your materials. If you need to disclose an invention or software, OTL will help you with that as well. If you're interested in starting a company, the best place to look is the Berkeley Gateway to Innovation, or BEGIN, which is a portal for entrepreneurs at Berkeley. And if you need help retaining your records, Research Data Management can help you with that. Now, underlying many of the steps of the grant lifecycle process are issues relating to compliance. There are many officers here on campus to help you, and you can review their roles on the grant lifecycle website to see who can help you with the different stages of your research. So if you want to learn more, you can contact any of the offices here today for a consultation, and please do look at the Grant Lifecycle website. This presentation will be uploaded to the Grant Lifecycle website after today, and it will include URLs for the resources that I've discussed. The Grant Lifecycle website and today's event were created by the Industry Alliances Office, Sponsored Projects Office, and my office, the Berkeley Research Development Office. We're joined today by other colleagues from across campus to help answer your questions in our breakout rooms. So now is your opportunity to ask questions about any of the things I've talked about today with our campus experts in a series of breakout rooms based upon the stages of the grant lifecycle that I've just discussed. We'll break out into 5 groups for focused 15-minute discussions about various stages of the grant lifecycle. If you click on the breakout button on the bottom right of your Zoom screen, you'll see the titles of the 5 breakout rooms. We'll automatically move you into a pre-assigned breakout room for the first 15-minute discussion. But at the end of that 15 minutes, we'll all return to this main meeting room. And then you'll have an opportunity to participate in 2 more breakout rooms. For the second and third breakout sessions, you will self-select the breakout room you would like to join. So here we go. We will all see you back here in the main room in 15 minutes. Enjoy your breakout room sessions.